What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are finally going to be doing some install videos. Right here I have the Expedition 1 roof rack, and then over here I got the Hefty Fabworks full skid set in steel. I'm going to be doing two separate videos for that install, but first today, because it's kind of chilly out and it's really windy, I'm going to be assembling the roof rack inside here today, and then on a nicer day, I'll go ahead and show you actually how to install it. But for this part right now, we're going to be assembling the roof rack inside here. It comes with a beautiful set of instructions, super easy to read with super clear pictures. So we'll be following along with this guy, and I'll be showing you guys step by step how to put this thing together. And then once it's all put together, we'll be going and putting it on top of the car. So stay tuned, guys, and we'll jump right into this. Alright guys, so first and foremost here, everything comes in pieces, okay? So what we're going to be doing is just going to be going through each and unwrapping these first. That way we can see clearly what we have to come with a nice cool decal for the car. So we'll be putting that to the side. So first, let's go ahead and unwrap all this stuff and see what we got. Alright, so we got everything unwrapped, and I kind of have an idea of what most of the stuff is. So we'll go ahead and jump right into step number one. So it does give us a lot of hardware here. It's like some weather stripping, and this is like some sticky foam that's going to be used with the actual mounting to the car. Got a bunch of these little brackets. These are going to be using for mounting the slats inside of the basket once it's fully assembled. Some screws, brackets and washers and stuff. Some brackets to hold stuff together, mounting brackets, a whole bag of screws. I think this is going to be for the slats. I'm not 100% sure though. And then more, and then this is a little bit labeled, so something for the rear. But yeah, so let's go ahead and jump in with step number one, and we'll do that. So step number one, let's see. So we're going to start building the frame. So we're going to need the two side pieces and also the front, and then it shows us over here what bolts we need to use and how they go in. So mount the braces together using the 5/16 bolts and nuts. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, step one has been completed. We got 3 bolts, and this is going to be the front end of the rack here. So 3 bolts on both sides, here, 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 and it just uses a lock nut to hold it in place. No washers or anything for this step. Alright, so now we're moving on to step 2. We're going to be adding the side pieces. So we're going to attach the rear brace and side fascias shown using the 1/4 inch and 5/16 bolts on both sides as shown below. So we're going to be doing this side piece and also this back piece as well. So it looks like same thing here, 2 bolts with 2 nuts and 1 bolt with 1 nut in the back, and then bolts along the side of the rack as well. Let's go ahead and do that. All right guys, so we got the side brackets on. Right now I have everything just kind of loose. I don't know if you can see it, the lighting's kind of bad in here. But I have it kind of loose just so if I need to, I can go back and kind of adjust it when I go ahead and do the mounting on top of the car. So now we kind of have the frame all put together, and now we're going to start really putting everything down nice and tight and adding the extra pieces that we have. So that was step 2, and we're pretty much, I want to say we're almost done, but I don't really know what we're talking about here. So now we're going to attach the rear fascia mounting over top of the cross brace, which we put on down there already. So it's going to be, this is the front fairing here, this one, and then this is going to be the rear. So we're going to go ahead and put the rear on now. So that's going to be using the 5/16 bolts again. So in our bag here we have a couple different bolt sizes. Let's see if I can find another one. So we have 2 button head types. So we have a small one and a big one. The bigger one is going to be the 5/16, and then this smaller one is going to be the 1/2 inch. For what we're going to be doing with this step, we're going to be using the 5/16, and we're going to be needing, I think, only 2 bolts and 2 lock nuts. So let's go ahead and throw that on. All right, so we got the rear one on now. Again, I have it loose, so we can go back and tighten it down. We can adjust and make shifts as we need to actually do the full mounting on top of the car. So now we're going on to the next step. Number 4, we're gonna attach the front fascia mounting. So I have the light bar cut out, and it says if you have the light bar cut out, that's recommended that you do the light bar mounting prior to installing the roof rack to the car. I do not have the light bar that I'm going to be using. I'm going to be switching out my curved bar for a straight bar, single row. So for now, we're just going to go ahead and throw it on there. That way we can get the rack on top of the car, and then we'll go back and do the light bar at a later date. All right, so let's go ahead and throw the front fairing on. Alright guys, so we got the front fairing on. Now we're going to be going and adding some brackets here to make it a little bit more rigid. They look kind of like that, and we're going to be using the 5/16 hardware, again, that I showed you earlier, to go ahead and do that on both sides, and just the front for this step. I assume in the next step we're going to be going to the rear. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Alright guys, right now I'm kind of at a hard point here. So right now I'm having trouble getting the bottom screws to go into the panel. Let's see if I can get a light so I can show you. So I'm having trouble getting some the screws to go into these 2 holes down here. So what I'm going to do is actually going to go through and tighten up some of these other bolts that we put in earlier to kind of get it to be a little bit more rigid, because right now it's, as you can see, it's just kind of floppy. So we're going to go ahead and tighten it up and then try again. Alright guys, so we finally got these brackets on. As you can see right here, I had to go the other way because that's the only way I could get the bolt to come through, so it's a little bit different than the normal sides, but it took me probably like an hour to get this on because the metal's a little bit warped just from the factory and whatnot, so you really gotta use some elbow grease to get those bolts in. So when you're doing it, it might help if you have 2 people. I was able to do it with 1. Hopefully you guys, if you guys are doing this, will have a little bit easier job. I had to take some bolts out here and here, and I loosened some of these bolts holding the actual frame together. So little difficult, but I think we got it done. So now we got to go back and we're going to do these. So if you can see here, this is warped as well, so we're gonna have to bend it to get it to go in on both sides. So before we do that, I'm gonna go ahead and tighten up the rest of these bolts up here and reinstall the bolts into the front bearing. All right guys, so I was finally able to get all of the joiners on there. Again, the rear ones took quite a bit of time as well. Now we're going to move on to the next step, which is going to be installing some reinforcement spacers. So they kind of are these longer bolts here, and we're going to be putting them in all of the corners here. And yeah, shouldn't be too hard, hopefully. And then after that, all we have left to do is just install the slats here that go across, and that should be it. And then from there we go into actually mounting the rack to the vehicle. So hopefully not too much longer. But yeah, so go ahead and do step number 6, installing the reinforcement spacers to the roof rack. Alright guys, so we got all of the reinforcement bolts in place. Now it's time to go ahead and get the slats ready to go. So what we have to do is assemble these little brackets and put them onto the end of the bar like this. And let me get a light here so you guys can see. Just like that. And then the bolt goes through there, little side piece there. And we'll do that on all of them, and then once we get that, then we can go ahead and throw them into the roof rack, and then we're done. Alright guys, so I just realized that I assembled all of the load bars incorrectly. So when assembling them, you don't want the piece here to be on the back side. You want to have it overlapping the open side, because you want the load bars to fit in with the solid piece facing up instead of like this. So I'm gonna have to go back and undo all of them and redo them to get them in the correct orientation. Alright guys, so it is the next day, and as you just saw, I finished assembling all of the slats. Now it is time to go ahead and put the slats actually into the rack. And after we complete that, then we'll be moving on to actually installing the rack onto the vehicle. What I did notice when assembling the slats is that it is very difficult to get a socket in there, and also the same thing with an adjustable wrench. So what I ended up using was just some clamps here, and then I used my drill with an Allen key attachment to make the process super easy. But yeah, so let's go ahead and install the slats into the rack. Alright guys, so here is the finished assembled roof rack. This is the bottom right here. And all in all, it probably weighs like 100 pounds or so. Here's the top view. That's the rear, and then that appears the front. I got the option with the light bar cut out. So once I get the light bar, I'll be throwing that in there. All in all, not too difficult of a job. There was definitely some frustrating parts to deal with. That including like all of the skeleton of the rack being kind of not shaped correctly, so I had to go back and kind of really force it into place in order to get all the bolts to go through the holes that they needed to go into. So this is going to conclude this part of the video. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is make separate videos, probably making 3 videos total. This is going to be the first video of the assembly. I'm going to make a video of taking the stock roof rack off, and then I'm also going to make a video of throwing this new roof rack on top, actually installing this roof rack. So thanks so much for watching, guys. If you go on and found this video super helpful, be sure to go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Would be much appreciated. If you want to see more content like this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Make sure to hit that little notification bell so that way you always get a notification when a new video goes live. But that's all for this video, guys.